Doesn't matter.
You've just done it.
We can introduce Lois Perry from CAR26. She's somebody who campaigns for a sensible position on climate change. And I just wanted to talk to you about all of those issues. But particularly, we wanted Lois here because that idea that barristers will no longer give justice and you know, climate terrorists will get away with it.
Well, it's absolutely disgusting. And as you say, it has become an eco-cult. And it's part of a sort of woke Puritanism now. And you have to have the same beliefs on certain things. So you have to be a Remainer. You have to be very, very pro-trans. And I mean, I support trans people, but I don't support men going into women's prisons and things like that. And you have to be super woke in terms of net zero stuff as well. And if you've now got infiltration across everything, whether it's the judiciary, lawyers, schools, universities,
is our society under
everything.
attack?
It is under attack. You know, it's wokery, it's Puritanism. It's you know, some people describe it, although I don't, as communism, because it's all about everyone being the same, not being allowed to do very much, and being monitored, and anti-capitalist, completely anti-capitalist.
What about a position where Sadiq Khan is talking about this ultra-low emission zone, £12.50 for every car that goes in over a certain age, and now 3 times the number of people that we're expecting to get it.
He's been telling porkies, hasn't he, Andre?
Now, not only that, we were talking to Keith Prince, who's the member of the London Assembly for Havering and Dagenham. He told us the following: 60% of people had said no in the consultation.
They have,
He'd arbitrarily increased the size of the zone, and also he's supposed to only make the decision when he goes in with a fair-minded view of it. He's not allowed to predetermine. He had ordered the cameras before he made the official decision.
It's you know, it's complete despotism, isn't it? But actually, Howard Cox, who's in charge of Fair Fuel UK, I think there was around 6,000 or 7,000 members that made complaints about this with the consultation. They counted it as one vote, but all the Extinction Rebellion lot and everything, they counted their votes individually. Yeah. It's there's been a lot of stuff about it. It's a complete and utter farce. It is.
Well, David is in Glasgow. David, you're on TalkTV.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Okay?
All right.
Good, mate.
Good. Like, listen, see this whole climate debate and lawyers and all this kind of stuff, yeah? I'm really fed up with the whole thing, right? Because there's no action getting taken. This ULEZ issue is involving the whole of the UK. Every single place in the UK is going to have an impact on it, etc., etc., etc. Why don't we do something positive? Yeah? I can remember the days...
What, like abolish Sadiq Khan?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, you know, whatever. Whoever's in power... Yeah, what I'm talking about is doing something concrete, positive and actionable.
Yeah.
There is hydrogen buses running in pretty much everywhere in the UK. Yeah. There's hydrogen production stations in London. I think there's 5, 6, 7 or something like that in London, and various. So why doesn't the country, the government, get together and make every single bus in London, every single taxi in London at least... Right, all hydrogen.
The main reason is because they'd basically it's at the moment the technology isn't correct and they're highly combustible because hydrogen is basically gas where you take the...
Louise, I'll stop
it's
you there.
Lois.
We had hydrogen buses, didn't we, in London?
Aberdeen is running hydrogen buses for everything.
I think you'll find it's a fuel mix. It will be a fuel mix. Do you think there's pure hydrogen?
It's pure hydrogen.
Okay, all right. My understanding is that it's highly combustible because it's a very unstable thing.
Look, I'll tell you what, let's not get into the exact science of all this. What I would say to you, David, is this. Here's my concern more than anything else. You know, I heard... Greta Thunberg, how dare you? You've ruined my childhood. She's about 40, isn't she? No, she's not quite. But she's going on about, and she said, and I quote, we need to end the myth of perpetual economic growth. And I've said this before, that's very easy when you've got a £4.5 million yacht. It's rather more difficult when you're a subsistence farmer in Sierra Leone. We've lifted 1 billion people out of poverty in the last 20 years. We're going to lift another 1 billion people out of poverty in the next 10 years, and certainly 20 at the most, if we ignore these climate loonies, because actually it's about technological advancement. When we get...
Andre,
sorry, go on, David.
Just say one thing, yeah? I remember 1967, when the conversation was there's no way you can get any potential oil at the North Sea because it's too complicated.
Yes.
Right? And within 3 years, BP discovered the how to do it production-wise.
Yes.
And that's when the whole thing kicked off. Fabrication, steel yards, all the rest of it. Hydrogen is the same. Aberdeen, for instance, is running hydrogen buses. Last January, they were the first place in the world to have a double-decker hydrogen bus. And now they've got 15 of them.
Well, anyway, so David, look, I think it's important that we follow technological innovation. Simon is in the West Midlands. Simon, you're on TalkTV.
Hello, mate. I believe that these people that stop oil and stop gas and all the rest of it, gluing themselves to the streets, that's great. But in America, you get done for jaywalking.
That's good. Well, there's laws about it here that they could have used. They didn't use.
Well, look, I will tell you what. I will tell you what will unglue your hand from a road very easily: battery acid. But unfortunately, people have told me that you can't use that.
Oh, in France, they were having none of it, were they? There's footage of a policeman just literally pulling the guy's hand up and the skin sticking to.
And he was rolling around like a footballer on the road, wasn't he?
Oh, I know. Tragic.
I've got an idea for these people with no oil, no gas. Go round to their house. The solicitors let us do it. Cut off their electric. Cut off their gas supply, cut off their oil supply, take out their wood burner and take away their electric car because obviously they're using gas.
I'll tell you what worries me, Simon. I'll tell you what worries me, and it was something that was ridiculed in the press, but something that I've thought a great deal about. Extinction Rebellion supporters going to McDonald's after a protest. Yeah. Now, people did laugh at that, but in reality, I think there's an element of this where I can understand why the young people did it. The reason is because now, in universities, you are basically required to hold this view. And so people now are going along to these protests, even though they don't believe any of it, because there's a nice girl they fancy or a nice boy they fancy or whatever. And so, effectively, now you're in a position, and I think it's incredibly dangerous, where everybody knows these people are talking rubbish, but they're all going along with it anyway.
Critical mass. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I do believe we've got to do something for this world.
Okay.
I've not got nothing against that, but there's certain ways of doing it, and this ain't the way to do it.
No, of course not.
The funny thing is, these young people think they're being really subversive and everything, and actually the protests that they're on are actually going along with international government policy.
And all the corporations.
It's not that rebellious, is it?
Not at all.
It reminds me of that great phrase there was about the Liberal Democrats, where they said the Liberal Party about Brexit. The Liberal Party waited 200 years for a popular uprising and then backed the Goldman Sachs position. Unbelievable. But look, Simon, can I ask you, because there was something you said that was interesting. Where is the correct balance here? Because I don't want to be in a position where we're polluting forever. I personally think fossil fuels are on the way out. I think that in 100 years we won't need them because we'll have better technology. But at the same time, it is important to hurry up the end of hydrocarbons, isn't it?
There's got to be a medium somewhere along the line. We can't just suddenly shut it off just like that. We need to have a revolution where we go from one to the other.
We need an energy mix. And the thing is, it's not just about the actual fuel itself. It's about the amount of products that we're completely reliant upon that are made using oil, like plastics and...
Well, everything.
Everything.
I mean, presumably your average vegan would be wearing a plastic shoe, wouldn't they?
They would, and they would also be eating highly processed food that would use a huge amount more energy to produce, I believe, because of all the different ingredients.
Lois, I've said this before. I'm a member of Cedars, which is, where you can do the venture capital, but on the small scale.
Oh, yeah.
And I keep getting these adverts and it goes, we've reinvented meat. Have you made a burger? Right? Yeah. They've all made a burger. We've made one out of crickets. We've made one out of grass. We've made ones out... You know what I mean? Right.
Well,
the reality is, if all we ever ate was hamburgers, then this new meat technology would be fine. But we don't eat just hamburgers.
I bet the people who are making the decisions on a high level won't be eating crickets or, or weird stuff.
No. Simon, thank you so much. Dorothy is in County Cavan. Dorothy, you're on TalkTV.
Yeah, how are you? No, I'm delighted now to see you again, Andre. You're always so gorgeous. What I want to say is that these fellas that commit crimes and then decide that they are gender different and to escape their route, their inevitable route, and it will be... No, they can dress themselves up like RuPaul and call themselves the Queen of the Upper Nile if they like. But if they have a penis, they're going into the men's jail, and that's an end of it.
Yeah.
No, that's
exactly.
Yeah, no, we agree.
Prisons should be genital-based, basically, not sex-based, not gender-based, genital-based.
I loved on that was the one that was the other night. On that was
the mother gives birth to a boy, and that's an end of it.
So, Dorothy, are you worried? Are you worried about the fact that we want to make wolf whistling in Britain illegal, but we want to allow drag story time where you can run round in a thong?
In 1970, I would feel very insulted if I walked by a building site and a man didn't wolf whistle me.
Absolutely. You think, what's wrong with me? Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
When I was young, because I loved that. What the bother? You know, and all of a sudden, I get a spring in my step, and I was admired.
Lois, on a serious note, Dorothy, I want you to talk to Lois for a minute, because I think you're in a similar view. I remember Cara Kendi came on That Was the Woke That Was, and she said basically it's just the big tubby birds that don't get wolf whistled that are complaining.
Yeah, they don't need to really worry about it, most of the women.
Bloody, absolutely, bloody well delighted.
Do you know what? It's part of the normal discourse of a normal day, you know, like a little bit of banter, and someone making you laugh, and you feel good about yourself. Yeah. It's the women that don't get it, that don't like it.
A man opened the post office door for me this morning, and he opened the door, and I said to him, chivalry is not dead. And he said, Mwah. And do you know what he went? He
went, "Wah," did he?
Where did you live? It sounds great.
County Cavan.
You're gorgeous. And I said to him, you're gorgeous. And he said, my mother herself was telling me that too.
Did you say there's life in the old girl yet?
I tell you what, there may be snow on the roof, but the fire is burning in the grave.
Can we come to your house?
I want to go down the marketplace, down Dorothy's marketplace, with the river dance woman.
That's it. But I mean, I tell you what, as I said, he can dress himself up like RuPaul any way he bloody well likes. But if he has a prick, he's going into the jail. That's it. His mother gets back to a boy.
This is similar to that. This is similar to that Good Morning Saddle sore incident.
He can call himself the Queen of the Upper Nile any way he bloody well likes. But he's going into the male jail.
Absolutely.
And you know what? He'll get crucified. And if he goes, he'll get crucified there. And if he goes into the women's jail, the women will surround him and tear him bloody well asunder.
Now I have to ask you, Dorothy.
Terrifying.
I have to ask you, Dorothy. Are you ever in London? Because we should get Dorothy in the studio.
Get Dorothy in.
What?
Are you ever in London?
I worked for years in London.
No, I mean, are you ever in London now? Because we'll get you on the show.
Andre wants you on the show, Dorothy.
I'm not in London. I'm not in London now. But I worked for the Duke of Edinburgh's Awards scheme.
Oh, did you?
I trained in the north in England. It's Greenwich District Hospital now. It used to be St Alfred's. And I spent a lot of time in the cancer hospital in Brompton.
Wow.
You sound like an amazing lady.
Yeah.
Well, Dorothy, I'm really sorry. We're just out of time, but we're going to continue to take your calls on all of these issues. Now, Dorothy has picked up on the whole wolf whistling issue, which we mentioned in passing. But, of course, we're also talking about that disgusting situation that barristers will no longer prosecute climate terrorists. And, of course, we were talking about Boris as well and the concerns about what happened at the Privilege Committee the other day. More next.